There are some things I need to fill you in on before we continue the vlog. Over Christmas, my dad got very ill. He had a hemorrhagic stroke, so he had a big brain bleed, and then he had an operation to remove half of his skull to allow for the brain to swell and reduce. He was moved to a hospital in London, which is amazing, but that does mean that my life currently looks a little different to how it did. I'm visiting 2 to 3 times a week, and that takes up a fair bit of my afternoons. It's just a very strange time. There's a lot to be grateful for in amongst all of the awfulness that happened. I'd just been on holiday with him. In fact, there is a vlog of that if you want to see my dad in his full health. He is getting some of the best care. The NHS is just amazing. We are so lucky to have it. And his personality is here, you know, like when you're with him, it's still him, and that is like the biggest blessing ever. And as people keep reminding me, the brain is an amazing organ. It can learn new pathways. It's kind of like when you're getting on the tube and the central line's closed, but you need to get from Stratford to Liverpool Street. So you instead take a different route. It's a little bit longer, but it works. That was a really helpful analogy that a viewer sent me, so thank you very much. Which, by the way, everyone's been amazing, thank you. Everyone who's reached out and shared stories of their own parent or grandparent and their stroke rehabilitation story, like they've been such a balm for the soul for me, so thank you. The thing about stroke recovery is you can never predict it, and it's a very long process, it's very individual, so there are so many unknowns at the moment, but just reading the potential that some people had for recovery and how full and how beautiful their lives are, even though they may not have reached like kind of what one might call like a full health recovery, like that, it's so reassuring to read how lovely everyone's lives are. I just felt like I couldn't come back on here and vlog as though nothing had happened, because something major in my life has happened. And I think it's important that you know. I had all these plans for what this year would look like on YouTube, and that has changed substantially in the past few weeks. Sometimes it feels a bit intimidating to sit down in front of the camera and talk, so I'm definitely more present on places like TikTok and Instagram, where they're a bit more kind of spur of the moment. And I'm also really excited to get back on the Substack again. That obviously took a back seat over the past few weeks. 2 other bits of news are that I've switched to almond milk and I got new glasses. Today is a lovely work day. I am going to shoot with my friend Georgia, and we're also shooting a brand campaign that is one of the most delightful brand campaigns I could possibly do. I get to go and have a meal and just document it. Like, that's what people think of when they think of like influencer work being, you know, really easy and fun. So I just need to prep. I'm gonna pack a suitcase full of clothes, have some breakfast, do my emails, and then we'll go into town.
Look, saint versus sinners, the poor versus riches, top ramen place versus 5-star dinners. Wonder why I fit in, the humblest beginnings. Had to take some losses before I saw my first winnings. Silver line grinning, poverty.
How cold is it?
It's maybe, I think, the coldest day of my life.
It's snowing. I was like, let's go to Dawn because, like, you know, books are really nice. But I've got my suitcase on me and it is snowing.
You know what's nice? Central heating.
Water better in the low tide, music better amplified, staying down for upsides. I know, no such thing as playing both sides. I know, the life is better in the dope ride. I know, the water better in the low tide, music better amplified, staying down for upsides. I know. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know.
Dinner was delish, obs. Just warming up. Just warming up. We're gonna watch a film called Beekeeper now. It's new to Sky Cinema, and I've heard very good things. It's got Jason Statham in it.
Oh,
hey!
So annoying, I'm in for more. Rewriting destiny right when I hit record. Patching up the trauma, these lyrics is near.
Beekeeper was very good. It's a real fun action film. And Jason Statham is great, obviously, he always is. It knows that it's a bit of a silly film as well. There are lots of puns in it related to bees and beekeeping that are delivered with complete conviction, and it is funny as the viewer. Like, you're aware that it's all a little tongue-in-cheek because the film knows what it is, you know? It is a fun, seats in bums action film. Speaking of which, this film is a Sky original and it's out in cinemas on the 12th of January. And if you have a Sky Cinema subscription, you can get 2 free view tickets to go and see it. I will leave more information about that in the description. And if you like Jason Statham, but you don't want to leave the comfort of your sofa, Revolver and Snatch are also on Sky Cinema, so you can get your fix of the man himself. Snatch is such a good film. So our good man Jason plays a beekeeper in the film in 2 senses. He is not only a keeper of bees in the literal sense, he's also a former member of a very secret organisation called the Beekeepers. They're spies, they're trained to fight. When his elderly neighbour takes her own life because she's fallen victim to a phishing scam, he kicks into gear. He is ready to take revenge. And you get to go along for the ride. It is just such a great step back escapism film. It's very easy to get lost in a wholly positive way. And if you have boyfriends or like men in your life, I think they're going to love it. Like, definitely go with them. As you know, I'm part of Sky Cinema Club, where I watch a film every month that's new to the platform and review it for you. And it's been 2 years. I've had such a great time doing Sky Cinema Club. I've watched so many good films. I've had such a good time with it. So yeah, let me know if you go and see the film. And thank you, Sky, for working with me on this video. I'm off to meet Alice for a coffee. It's 0 degrees and I'm dressed like I was skiing. Let's just say I haven't got much work done. We're gonna go and get my dad an iPad. My dad has an iPad, but he can't remember the passcode to it. And as I was sitting in bed last night, I just thought, why am I not buying him an iPad? Because in terms of stroke recovery, the earlier you do stuff, the better. So why would we wait until he remembers the code and then let him start some of the stroke recovery that you can do on iPads? Why not just sort him out now? It's one of those purchases where, because it's a lot of money, sometimes you can feel a bit hesitant. But when I got that flash of that like epiphany last night, just realised, you know, it's someone's health. If this can make a difference right now, then the money will feel so worth it. And then once he remembers his passcode, I will have my own and use it for work, because I've wanted an iPad for work for the longest time. So this is just a good excuse to get one. So let's go and do that. Okay, let's go to Westfield. The deed is done. But yeah, it's all set up. It's actually weirdly hard to set up an iPad without it connecting to all your other Apple devices. Also, the speech and language rehab apps are so expensive. I have just forked out £69. And it's fine, because it's for the greater good. But ouch. My savings will recover, and so will my dad. This has been an absolute chaos day. This is not the kind of vlog day I planned. But this is life right now. This is life. I'm now gonna go and see my dad. I wouldn't necessarily go today. I saw him yesterday as well, but I'm going to Lan's house for dinner, and she lives right by the hospital he's at. So I'm like, I may as well go and visit him on the way. It would feel weird not to.
Are you wearing jeans? I'm wearing leggings underneath my jeans. Can you not tell these are jeans?
No, I can't tell those are jeans, but
I'm in the leggings.
jeans to lounge in.
Done my absolute best here to try and create some light, but it is so dismal outside. One of my New Year's resolutions was to cut down my screen time, like quite aggressively. So I installed an app. And girls, it's hitting me hard. It's been really eye-opening. I've put on some pretty hefty limits for me. I'm hoping to reduce my screen time by about 30% a day. Specifically my phone screen time. I'm not really bothered about like my laptop screen time is not really a problem. It is the phone time, it is the Instagram, it is the TikTok, it is the endless scroll. That's what we're trying to kick. And it is just so interesting. It is so similar to when I quit alcohol. In early sobriety, I had this constant itch to just press the button, press the bad button. Very light makeup today, by the way, we're really not doing too much. It's like an addictive void that wants to be filled. Specifically, I've restricted my access to those apps in the morning because I want to make sure that first thing I do when I get up is get in the shower or make a coffee or anything other than go on my phone, because when I don't have somewhere I have to be in the morning, I can sit and scroll for hours, and it's embarrassing to admit that. But I've accepted it is a problem, like it is beyond my control, and so I needed some additional help. I feel like on edge in the mornings at the moment, which is maybe why I've decided to film something, just to get me out of my own head. And so they're restricted until 10 o'clock because obviously things are complicated a bit by the fact that I do need social media to work. But when I'm actually like working, I don't tend to mindlessly scroll. It is literally just if I start my day with it, it's gonna go wrong. And then secondly, I've gone and put restrictions on the amount of time that I can spend on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter to a max of 2 hours between them. I'll notice that my tap pattern is just to go straight into Instagram, and then I just close it straight away because I'm too scared of like cranking up the time, because I want to be able to indulge in it at the end of the day. But how ridiculous. Do you ever just take a step back and look at a bad habit you have and think, when did this develop? Like, how did this happen right under my nose? And I've been addicted to social media for a very long time, and I've known it for a very long time, like since I was probably 12 or 13. I think it's okay to admit with any of these things that you don't have the willpower to do it alone. Willpower is to a certain extent a myth. You've got a finite amount of willpower, and it takes willpower to just do some of your everyday stuff. Anything that's not a habit and involves a bit of exertion takes willpower, and so we deplete it so quickly. I really hope that this works and that the itch calms down soon, because it is genuinely disrupting my life a little bit. And we're in week 1. I think I mentioned in a previous video, but I'm doing the 12-week year as my methodology for how I'm doing my goals this year, because there's a lot I want to get done. Some things that I want to do feel somewhat time bound. So I think to make that more manageable for me, I should adopt whatever methods I can to make that seem smaller, but also to hopefully encourage me or like help me, hold my hand along the way to achieve those things. And I think the best way to do that is not to give myself 12 goals at the top of the year, is to break it down into weeks. Getting my screen time down and locking in a morning routine are kind of one and the same. They're two parts, two sides of the same coin. I think hitting your mid-20s is this real point where you've learned enough about yourself that you can look at some of the habits you've developed and go, am I ready to tackle this? Like, and I'm determined, while I've got a bit of time under my belt, got a bit of prep time, to not let this spiral out of control. I've left my lipstick downstairs, so you're not gonna get to see that bit. That's enough little makeup for today. Just a little, just a little.
I never get to go west anymore, but returning to Hammersmith, where I used to live, is such a strange experience because I really had some formative years there. I fell in love, I had a breakup, I went to the Apollo many times, I cried on my friends' sofas. It's a place with so much of me living there still. So when I get the excuse to go, I always take it and I always enjoy it. I messaged Odes and was like, can we just have a walk down the river? The trauma of the last month seems to have unplugged something in my brain, and memories are just free-flowing in a way that they haven't been for years. Things that I haven't thought about in so long will just come to me while I'm in the shower or as I'm waking up in the morning. Little reminders of parts of my life that were previously forgotten. I don't really understand it, if I'm totally honest.
So pretty.
Thank you, Evan. Very sweet, very nice. Aww. Birds, paid actors, all of them. I actually think I've just made something good. So I got in, I just felt really inspired. I didn't have much work to do today, so I just sat down and made a song. And actually, it's like the beat's good. First of all, the beat is good. This might be my first decent beat. But also, most importantly, this kind of feels like me, like lyrically, like we're getting there. I feel like I'm having to like really unclog the tap this year. There's a lot of shit. I used to be much more vulnerable in my lyrics, but I'm just not really at the moment. But like, listen to this. Like, I'm just really pleased with myself.
Said you knew me really well. In the basement of the Ace Hotel.
I feel so vulnerable.
Can I be the one you call?
How cool does this sound like? It sounds like me.
Keep writing songs about me, and I'll stick around. Let me break you down.
I feel like I'm making progress. My dad's been moved to a new hospital and I'm all in my feelings about it because it's not in London and I had to walk up an A road to get here. It's easy to practice gratitude when things are easy to be grateful for, but I think the real test comes in when you're actually having to try. And because we've made so much progress, it's easy to forget that like none of this was guaranteed even 3 weeks ago. Ultimately, things are progressing. Ultimately, it's a really good thing. And so what if my life is mildly more inconvenient, you know? And this is a pretty bit of the walk. Silver linings, silver linings. I had a few bad days with it all recently. My mental health is not infallible. When bad things happen, I feel bad. But the passing of time is truly like the greatest gift because despite the horrors of the day before, I felt better when I slept on it. I was in Whitechapel Station having a big cry, but I had some food, I slept, and I feel better today. I think I find it quite strange as well that like in my lifetime is still passing, and in my dad's life, he has seen a lot of different rooms actually the past few weeks, but he's been indoors. I think I feel this like overriding sense of guilt that my life gets to continue pretty much as is. I get to come here once, twice, 3 times a week, but overall, life remains unchanged, but it's very different for him. Okay, I'm gonna go in.